Okay, so in this example, we look at how expectations and preferences affected supply, but we can also incorporate the idea of changes in related markets. So let's take a look at the first example here, preferences. Assume that people develop a greater preference for electric car, which pushes up prices for electric cars, while holding constant prices for combustion engine cars. As a result, quantity supplied for electric cars increases. That's a movement along the supply curve, but supply of combustion engine driven cars shifts to the left. Okay, so let's disentangle that. So we have essentially two markets. Okay, so here's one. Okay, here we have EV, and here we have combustion engine cars, and here we have a supply function. Well, let's assume that currently the price is here. So then that means that quantity supplied is here at Q1, and this is the price 1. If the price goes up to, let's say, price equals 2, then the EV companies will now produce Q2. Okay, so now that means that in order to produce more EVs, a factory needs to allocate more resources towards the production of EVs, but then those resources are not available for combustion engines. So let's say if combustion engines have a supply function like this, and the price is, let's say, here, but the price here doesn't change, so we just call that P star, and they currently produce Q star. Well, because a factory or a company, a car producer, is now allocating more resources and dedicating more machines towards the production of EVs, even at the given price for combustion engine vehicles, that means they have less resources available to produce combustion engine vehicles, and that means that is a decrease in supply of combustion engine cars. So again, if for whatever reason, most likely because there's an increase in demand, increases the price for EVs, then quantity supplied of EVs goes up. So that's a movement along the supply function. But if the price for combustion engine cars does not change, well, then we will observe a decrease in supply for combustion engine driven cars. Okay, so let's take a look at another example about expectations. Assume that consumers expect that in the future combustion engine cars will be taxed. Okay, so that is equivalent to saying from the perspective of a consumer, the price goes up, therefore reducing demand and price for combustion engine cars. Okay, so as a result, quantity supplied of combustion engine cars will decrease, which is a movement along the supply curve, but the supply of electric cars shifts to the right. Okay, so now what happens here is, so again, let's draw again the two functions. Okay, here we have again, so now we actually start with the combustion engine cars, CV. Okay, so we have here the supply function, and let's say currently the price is here. And, you know, even though that's already jumping a little bit ahead of what we do later, let's say the demand function is here, and we have an intersection between the supply and the demand function here. But now combustion engine vehicles will be taxed. Well, from the perspective of the demand, that will mean that combustion engine cars are being made more expensive, and because of substitution effects, now a lot of consumers will switch towards EVs, which means the demand for combustion engine vehicles, actually I should have called that just to be consistent with the other one, so that is combustion engine vehicles. So that is a CE. So as a result of the higher tax, there will be less demand for it. So the demand shifts to the left. So that means we will have a lower price. So the price goes down maybe from P1 to P2, and the quantity supplied of combustion engine vehicles decreases. Okay. So now, because there is less demand or a lower price for combustion engine vehicles, that now frees up resources that can be used in order to produce more EVs, so that even if in the market for EVs the price doesn't change at any given price, because we free up resources in the production of combustion engine driven vehicles, we can expand production at any given price for electric vehicles, and that is an increase in the supply function. So the price doesn't have to change for EVs here. Okay, so those would be those two examples that are a little bit similar to the impact of related goods on demand. And we have similar scenarios for supply. Okay, so let's stop here, and in the next video let's quickly talk about competition.